to NFL Live, presented by Discover.
In Tampa Bay, that's where Super Bowl 55 will happen, featuring the Bucks and the Chiefs. Goat and baby goat, if you will. And we welcome you to NFL Live. Hey, coming up, the reason why no one should have been surprised that Tom Brady chose to go to the Buccaneers, and the reason has nothing to do with their offense, by the way. We're talking all things Super Bowl throughout the show with these great people. One of them is still singing right now. Marcus Spears and Mina Kimes. Dan Orlovsky will be with us as well. And I think Marcus should sing for the entire show. He's obviously fired up the Monday after Championship Sunday. It's so good. Hey, we also have Adam Schefter. We're going to start there with you, Shefty. Everything about the Super Bowl. What do you have for us?
Well, Laura, we have Tom Brady going back to the Super Bowl at age 43, trying to cap off what would be one of his most memorable postseason runs, having already beaten at this point in time Drew Brees and then Aaron Rodgers, and now taking aim at Patrick Mahomes at the age of 43. Tom Brady doing the unthinkable in his 10th Super Bowl. Think about that. And Patrick Mahomes now trying to win back-to-back Super Bowls to become the 7th quarterback to do it. The last one to do it, none other than Tom Brady, of course. So he gets to take on Tom Brady as Patrick Mahomes tries to win back-to-back Super Bowls. And the Kansas City Chiefs will have to make do without Eric Fisher, who has a torn Achilles, obviously out for this game. They're already missing their starting right tackle, Mitchell Schwartz, who's been out since week 6 with a back injury. So no Mitchell Schwartz, no Eric Fisher. That's a problem for Kansas City, but Andy Reid does believe they have some offensive tackle depth that they'll need to deploy on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, it's important, Adam. You'll be with us all show long. That storyline to watch, especially considering that they're going to face up against Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul off the edge for the Bucs. So much more to come on this, but let's get to the NFC Championship game. We begin with one of the most talked about moments from Championship Sunday. Packers versus Bucs. We're picking it up in the fourth quarter. Packers with a 3rd and goal, trailing by 8. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to have some room here to run. He ends up trying to get the touchdown with his arm. He's frustrated after this because you felt like maybe he was going to have more opportunity. They end up deciding to go for the field goal here. You're going to hear from Rodgers in moments about this decision, as well as LaFleur. And they make that, so that means Packers trail 31-26. But then the Bucs get the ball back, and this is 3rd and 4. Tom Brady to Tyler Johnson. Incomplete, but look at the flag there. Kevin King gets called for pass interference, giving Tampa Bay a 1st down. And both Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers not thrilled with that call. You see Rodgers there making a case to the ref that Bucs drive would continue. And later in the drive, Godwin gets the handoff, picks up that 1st down that seals the victory. Here's LaFleur and Rodgers about the call to kick the field goal.
We essentially had 4 timeouts with the 2-minute warning. And, you know, we knew we needed to get a stop. And I thought we were going to have a stop there at the end, but, you know, we got called for the PI. And it didn't work out.
Well, I didn't have a decision on that one. Yeah, that wasn't my decision. I thought maybe we're going to have 4 chances to go.
All right, so you heard what Aaron Rodgers said right there. Mina, let's just talk about this from the analytics perspective. What do the numbers say about that situation and whether or not to go for it or kick the field goal?
So ESPN's model slightly favored going for it. I think 99.9% of people at home, that's not an exact calculation, wanted the Packers to go for it, at least based on my timeline. I think it was a little bit closer than it perhaps seemed, because they were at 4th and 8. And with the field goal, if they got the stop, they could have then drove for the win. I understand LaFleur's thinking to some extent, especially given how much the Packers struggled in the red zone in this game in particular compared to the rest of the season. I mean, Rodgers was 1 for 6 targeting Adams, whereas he was 17 for 19 in goal-to-go situations, in the red zone during the regular season. But all that said, we're talking about the best red zone offense in football. We're talking about a future Hall of Famer in Aaron Rodgers, 91% goal to go this year. I think you got to go for it. And then if you don't get it, you can get the stop and try to tie the game. I don't think it was as objectionable perhaps as some people, but if it was me, Marcus, I would have relied on Rodgers and gone for it.
Yeah, Marcus, people got really upset about this, as you might imagine. And as Mina pointed to, it really was like 99.9% of people thought that they should have just gone for it there. What did you make of this particular situation and the moments leading up to it, right?
I actually, I didn't have a visceral reaction like everybody else. Like, understanding within the confines of football, I'm 100% with Mina. It's Aaron Rodgers. You give him an opportunity on fourth down, but also, Matt LaFleur told you what his thinking was. We didn't have a lot of success on the first 3 downs. And that crept into his mind. So it may have been a little fear. He may have had a little fear about not getting any points at all. So I understand it. Now, the football guy in me, the guy that relies on execution and the talent and all of these factors of why you should, if I got Aaron Rodgers, I'm going for it. And that's why everybody is so mad. Really, everybody is angry because Matt LaFleur has Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback, and he decided not to give him an opportunity to put the football in the end zone.
You know what Matt LaFleur didn't have, Marcus? His starting left tackle, arguably the best left tackle in the NFL, in David Bakhtiari. And guys, that's why the Packers lost. It's not because they kicked a field goal there. I mean, the defensive decisions, we'll get into that in a moment. But on offense, they lost because their offensive line got whooped on the edges by Shaq Barrett and JPP. We thought, oh, this offensive line, they played well against the Rams. They'll be fine. Billy Turner, Rick Wagner. Yeah. But Aaron Donald was hurt in that game, and I think it gave kind of a misleading picture as to the state of the Green Bay offensive line, which with Bakhtiari was the best in the NFL.
Yeah, you know, Mina, you thought that this game would maybe expose the absence of Bakhtiari, and you could tell very early on that it did. That was just a chance where the Bucs were winning at the line of scrimmage throughout. Let's go to another really pivotal moment in this game, guys, and this one is the end of the first half, right? Second quarter, 34 seconds left in the half, 2nd and 18 for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers over the middle to Allen Lazard there, but intercepted by Sean Murphy-Bunting, who's been playing really well. You'll see that one more time. And the Bucs, that means they're going to take over near midfield with seconds remaining in this half. In fact, only 8 seconds here for Tom Brady, right? But 1st and 10, Bucs in Packers territory. Tom Brady, deep shot to Scotty Miller. You've got to account for that, right? They don't, and Kevin King ends up getting beat in that moment. Let's hear from Matt LaFleur with more about this at the end of the half.
Yeah, it was man coverage. Definitely not the right call for the situation. And you can't do stuff like that again. I blame us as coaches, you know, for putting our guys in that situation. That's inexcusable. That should not have happened.
All right, we're having some technical difficulties with Dan Orlovsky right now. I just want to put that out there. We're trying to get him back here. He called that the blind spot there. Marcus, what happened defensively?
Mike Pettin point shaving. That's what he's doing, like not in the literal sense. But when you look at this particular situation, get into halftime, man. Why are you in single safety high coverage, man-to-man, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when you know Tom Brady is trying to gut you and how important points are in that game? So I had a major issue. And look, Matt LaFleur pointed to it. He said, we as coaches cannot put our players in that position. Yeah. The number one job, and y'all have heard me say it, the number one job of a coach is to put players in a position to be successful. We obviously saw that Green Bay did not do that on that play. And think about the swing. Like, Mina, think about what the swing did. Think about the demoralizing feeling that you have going into halftime down 20-10 as opposed to 13-10. I can tell you this as a football player, as a defensive guy, I'm walking into that locker room and I'm flipping some tables, kicking some holes in some whiteboards that they about to tell us what we did wrong. You do not put your guys in that position at that critical stage, especially King. He was having a terrible night anyway.
And let me say this, there is nothing deceptive about Scotty Miller's speed, okay? He has got jets. Nothing. I want everyone out there, all the fans who are angry at LaFleur, you got to direct like 90% of that anger towards the defensive coaching, because to me, Marcus, that call was worse than the Greg Williams zero blitz that got everyone so riled up earlier in the year, because that game was meaningless. In fact, if anything, it actually helped the Jets, whereas this was a playoff game, arguably swung it, as you said. But I want to turn it to actually, while we're talking about coaching, something that happened right before the interception. So we talked about how Matt LaFleur perhaps wasn't aggressive enough, and we're going to talk about how I think Sean McDermott wasn't aggressive enough, and we've seen a lot of that throughout the playoffs. You know who came to risk it for the biscuit? Bruce Arians calling the timeout before the interception with 38 seconds left, trusting his offense to come back on the field and do something, then going for it on fourth down, throwing to Leonard Fournette. All of that happened, before the play in question. That is the kind of aggression we need to see, especially going into a game against Patrick Mahomes that was missing in the AFC Championship. And I, for one, was heartened to see Bruce Arians take some risks.
Only way to get the biscuit is to risk it. And as promised,
that touchdown. So it was really, really poor defense, but it also was, we see in the NFL oftentimes bad play calls not getting penalized by the other team. This was an example of, this is a bad play call by Green Bay, and Tampa Bay made them pay for it.
hey, prayers up for Dan's internet for the rest of the show, and we have got a great show for you, reacting off of Championship Sunday, talking about the Super Bowl. We are just getting started. More Aaron Rodgers conversation coming later. Why one person here thinks Rodgers wants to change of scenery. Why someone else says the grass isn't going to be greener away from Green Bay. And Patrick Mahomes threw all over the Bills on Sunday, but we'll tell you why it's not his arm that makes him such an exceptional player. Find out what we're talking about next. NFL Live is presented by Discover.
My eyes get wide.
Wide receiver screen into the end zone. The Chiefs have 3 touchdowns in as many drives.
Feeling like a supernova. I'm about to lose composure when my head is spinning round.
The Chiefs' kingdom captures the trophy and it stays here. Oh, how about those Chiefs?
A big reason for Kansas City's success yesterday was play action. Look at this. Patrick Mahomes posted season highs in QBR, completion percentage, pass yards, and touchdowns to interceptions when the Chiefs utilized play action. In fact, Mahomes went 14 for 14 on play action passes yesterday. That's tied for the most attempts by any quarterback in any game without an incompletion since ESPN began tracking it 15 seasons ago. So, Mina, we asked the tough questions here on NFL Live, and here's really maybe one of the toughest one in sports right now. Why was Mahomes so good on Sunday?
Oh, God, I was so worried you were going to ask me, how do you stop Patrick Mahomes? And I was going to just kind of hide. And we got 2 weeks to figure that one out, but it's basically an impossible proposition. Laura, last week on Friday, I said, if Mahomes is less than 100% in terms of his mobility with the toe injury, the Bills have a chance. About 3 minutes into this game, I was like, nope. All right, well, because he looks fine on his feet. He was booting out, and, you know, actually they had him booting out a little bit more than I thought, but it's not like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson where he's an explosive play waiting to happen with his legs. It's the subtle movements inside the pocket, his ability to elude pressure. I can't even count the number of times the Bills got a free rusher, or at least should have put a hit on him, and he just dodged his way out of a sack. It's a huge part of what makes him so special, and coupled with his arm talent, it makes him next to unstoppable when he's 100%.
Yeah, I think a big thing for me, is like how he does the ungraceful so graceful. I mean, you talked about some of those free runners that were coming at him yesterday, and I'm like, well, that's a good win for the Bills. And it's like, no, I can just make you miss and create a completion. 3rd down. I mean, look at this. Buffalo's going to get a great blitz off the edge, and that guy's going to win. He's going to come unblocked, and Mahomes is like, all right, I got to get this ball to my hands. I'm hot. And they drop down and cover the hot, and you're like, all right, perfect. We got a free runner. And Mahomes is like, watch this gracefulness of this pump fake. It's not there. Boom. Dip underneath, conversion to Kelsey. Very next play, they're going to call a shot, and Buffalo's going to be like, all right, we're going to take our pressure off the backside edge. again, if you're Leslie Frazier, like, perfect. I get my free runner on Patrick Mahomes, and somehow he makes this guy miss, dips around, sidearm throw, and, like, just imagine, guys, that's 60 yards of offense, and it should have been 20 yards of negative offense.
Yeah.
Right? Those hitting yards that I talk about. And so you're talking about this team that's got the most talented player in football in Patrick Mahomes. And we know Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Mecole Hardman and everybody. And then they're the best coach team in football. I don't think that's disputable right now. And then they're the most cutting-edge team in football. Laura touched on the play action and the pre-snap motion that they use. Like, they're indefensible when that kid plays that way.
And let me just take it one step further. They're also doing it faster than everybody else. So it's happening so fast in front of you that it's like impossible to catch up with.
Yeah.
All right, Marcus,
Yes.
Mahomes was great, right? But it was something that Andy Reid did that got your attention yesterday. What was that?
Yeah, no doubt. Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, Patrick Mahomes, everybody. When Mecole Hardman muffed that punt, all right, you could see down in despair, a young player at that. People have to remember, this is a young team as well. Mm-hmm. So he went to the sideline. You saw the emotion. You saw teammates walking up to him trying to encourage him. But there's nothing more encouraging for a jump shooter than when you pass him the ball again and tell him to take the shot. And Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy made it a point to get Mecole Hardman the ball. They made a point to get him in the end zone. They told him in that moment, probably his lowest, this is the AFC Championship. He just muffed the punt and gave the Buffalo Bills an opportunity to get in the end zone. Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy decides we gonna get Mecole Hardman confidence right back today in this game because it's gonna pay dividends in this game and it may pay dividends in 2 weeks. That was unbelievable to me. Just something small that was hidden in the game.
It's a good point. Patrick Mahomes also went up to him on the sideline and you saw him saying, forget about it and move on, which he was able to do. But it also helps when your coach lets you forget about it too. All right, let's get to Adam Schefter here because we were just talking about, Adam, the great coaching staff that the Chiefs have. Eric Bieniemy now coaching in a Super Bowl. Only one head coaching vacancy remains. It's in Houston. What's the latest?
Listen, Houston right now seems to be focused in on candidates like Leslie Frazier, the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator, who was eliminated in the game against Eric Bieniemy's offense, Jim Caldwell, the former head coach in Indianapolis and Detroit, and as well as David Culley, an assistant coach in Baltimore. There are other coaches right now. It doesn't look like Houston's willing to wait until the end of the postseason, despite the fact that we saw the great John Legend tweet during the game, hire Eric Bieniemy. So we've got people publicly exhorting teams to hire Eric Bieniemy, but that hasn't helped before because we've seen Bieniemy go through enough of these cycles and know that it has been difficult for him to get the job that a lot of people feel like he deserves.
Yeah, it's really interesting to follow, and we will continue to do that. We've also got more Adam Schefter coming your way next. We're going to try to get inside Aaron Rodgers' head, and Adam's going to tell you Sunday Rodgers has now lost 4 consecutive conference championship games dating back to 2014. That's the longest losing streak by a starting quarterback in conference championship history. And how about this? Rodgers seemed uncertain about his future after the game.
A lot of guys' futures that are uncertain, myself included. There's a lot of unknowns going into this offseason now. And I'm going to have to take some time away for sure and clear my head and just kind of see what's going on with everything. It's really tough to get to this point, and that makes the finality of it all kind of hit you like a ton of bricks.
All right, so obviously fresh off a disappointing loss here, but this does make you think. I mean, he could have said, I'm all in on Green Bay for a long period of time. Adam, just how realistic is it for Rodgers to force his way out of Green Bay?
Well, we don't know. We know that he sounded like a man who was saying goodbye to Green Bay. We know he sounded like a man who needs some time away at this point in time. We know he's somebody that wants to sift through his thoughts and feelings. And we also know that he wasn't particularly thrilled with some of the decisions that the organization made during the offseason, most notably using its first-round draft pick on a quarterback to replace him. I think there's a lot going on there, and I think it goes both ways. I think there may be some people in the Green Bay organization who have eyes to move on. We'll see how this plays out. I think everybody needs to take a step back. But if Aaron Rodgers wants to move on with his life, then clearly it would be up to him to be able to do so. I don't know that the Green Bay Packers would willingly or wantingly go out and trade Aaron Rodgers. Then again, the Houston Texans wouldn't want to do that with Deshaun Watson either. But if Aaron Rodgers says, look, I'm not coming back to Green Bay, and let's keep in mind here that he is the union rep who was pushing for more players to have off-season workouts away from their facilities on their own. Let's keep in mind that if he wants to spend more time in California, where he grew up, in his home, which is about 20 miles from the Rams facility, he can push the issue and force the issue, but we'll see if he decides to do that.
Adam's exactly right. Aaron Rodgers would have to be willing to force the issue, the same way Deshaun Watson has to be willing to force the issue. Certainly Rodgers has the resources to do so, because there's no way Green Bay wants any part of a trade. It just simply doesn't make sense for them. So the question we have to ask is it in Aaron Rodgers' best interest to play somewhere else? And I don't think it is. Look, I understand why he's unhappy with some of the things that have happened there, not just yesterday. We talked a little bit about the coaching decisions, I think in particular more on the defensive side of the ball, frankly, than an offense. But also, the decision to draft Jordan Love, it was a mistake. I've heard people say, well, look, they didn't need a wide receiver. Look what he's done with Lazard and Valdez-Scantling. It doesn't matter, okay? Jordan Love was not useful to them this year. He is not useful to them next year while Aaron Rodgers is there. There's no reason why he should be okay with that. However, the Packers in the regular season had the best offensive line in football. They did not yesterday, and we saw the impact of that, not having David Bakhtiari. But when we start looking at destinations for Rodgers, I don't see a lot of offensive lines in the NFL that are comparable with healthy starters back in Green Bay, and I'm sure Rodgers is taking that into account.
Yeah, I think also the reality, Mina, would be, like, is he that bothered by the things that have transpired in Green Bay to leave that comfort? Like, I know Tom Brady left New England last year, but that's because that roster was really bad. And Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston because that's not a very healthy situation at all. And Matthew Stafford wants out of Detroit because it's just time. Like, you pointed to the offensive line. It's also his best friend, David Bakhtiari's there. He's talked about Devonta Adams and their relationship that has grown. He's not going to go get Devontae, say, in San Francisco or Indy. And so he's also got 74 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. So, like, I think Aaron would have to ask himself, am I really ready to do this, where I can go find even a parallel move, because so many places, both play calling wise and talent wise, that would be around him would be steps down. And that. And the last thing I would say is this. If you're their general manager, Brian Gutekunst, and he comes to you and he asks that, or he tells you he doesn't want to be there, you better be dead sure that Jordan Love is the next Patrick Mahomes, because it's career suicide if you decide to give him, fine, I'll let you go, and Jordan Love isn't even remotely close to being ready.
Look, I get all of that. I get all of the context that y'all just talked about. I understand it from the contract standpoint to what's there in Green Bay. What if it's just as simple as he wants to change things up? He wants to change the scenery. What if he wants to go and elevate another team? I know Green Bay has a lot of really good players in place, but Green Bay ain't Green Bay like we think about them without Aaron Rodgers. So anywhere he goes is a better team. We know, look, we are about to watch a Super Bowl where we see the impact of a quarterback and how much he can change a situation with 1 year, with how he plays and his experience. So, look, I'm not one of those ones that's on the Aaron Rodgers is going to stay there because of contract or everything is in place. Aaron Rodgers may just be tired of being in Green Bay. He may want to go somewhere else and enjoy some weather, play in a new system, a new scheme, more tailored to what he likes to do. Just all of those things. He's had a tremendous amount of success in Green Bay. He's done great things. They've been to 2 NFC championships. But that does not mean he doesn't want to go somewhere else and compete.
Let me just throw this in really fast, Adam, before we go back to you. The cap hits for the upcoming seasons, just so we have the money correct here, $36.3 million in 2021 and 22, $39.8 in 23, $28.3. But one really important thing, if the Packers would be able to trade him before June 1st of this season, they would only save $4.8 million in space for 2021. They would save $22.7 million in cap space for 2021 if they trade him after June 1st this year. Big difference there. Adam, go ahead.
Marcus is exactly right. I know that Mina and Dan keep saying Green Bay's the best fit for him. Well, let me say this. Aaron Rodgers would fit in anywhere he wants to fit in. Aaron Rodgers would take any team and make them a winner. A la, as you said, Marcus, Tom Brady. People said, why is he going to Tampa? What's in Tampa? They haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. Who would have thought the Buccaneers would be good enough to go to the Super Bowl? I promise you this. Let's put Aaron Rodgers in LA with the Rams. Let's put Aaron Rodgers in San Francisco with the 49ers. And let's see how they do next season. Okay? Aaron Rodgers doesn't care. Well, again, where is he from? He's from California. Where does he have property, a house, an off-season home? California. Quarterbacks at teams out there in California, could they use Aaron Rodgers? Every team could use Aaron Rodgers. What does Aaron Rodgers want to do? And that's what we don't know. We don't know what he wants to do. But that matters here.
Dan, go ahead.
I agree, Shefty. We all know that Aaron Rodgers is great. I think that this would be such a... Both sides making incredibly gutsy decisions. Like, this would be a relatively gutsy decision by Aaron Rodgers to go, you know what, my 16 years, it's great, but I want out. And also for the Packers to oblige in many ways. Like, that's why I think it's different than Tom, because Tom was free. This would be both sides making incredibly gutsy decision for the now and the long term.
All right, the good thing is we'll be able to talk about this all offseason. And listen, do you think that would be crazy? How about Adam dropping this bomb on us today? This is on his Twitter, a list of QBs that could possibly be on the move with teams this offseason. It's a real long list. And you know what? He tweeted this out the day after championship weekend so that we wouldn't be able to do an entire show on this. But don't you worry, Adam Schefter. We're going to have plenty of time to dig in the coming days. I like how you just kind of slid that one in there. All right, it's Monday, so you know what that means. We got big man balling from championship weekend. Marcus, are you ready or what?
Yeah, Boogie, you know what time it is. I'm going to get the people what they've been waiting on all week.
First season from Bills quarterback Josh Allen, but he ran into the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and thus his season is over. So much, though, to be excited about for Bills Mafia when it comes to the future of this team with Allen at the helm. Let's talk about yesterday, Dan Orlovsky. What went wrong for Josh Allen?
I think, first of all, he went into this game and it looked like it was him versus Patrick Mahomes. You know, like he was going to try to outplay Patrick Mahomes, and it was this heavyweight fight, and he was going to go try to knock somebody out in the first round in Kansas City. He was like, nope, you got to box us. And he was emotionally too high. And the second thing was they didn't have a good plan for pressure, which was shocking because Kansas City played them defensively the same way they did the first game. Yesterday, he was pressured 27 times dropping back. That's the most in a single playoff game since ESPN started tracking them. And while he's a great athlete and can make so many plays in those situations, I think his emotions were too high to handle the pressure intellectually the right way, to get the ball out and to just move on to another down or find a hot route or get a completion and force a tackle in the open field. So the fact that Josh went in trying to treat it as a one-on-one matchup and then their offense not having a good plan for when Kansas City did blitz them, it was too little too late for Buffalo's offense.
Dan, you're right. I was actually surprised because I thought the Chiefs would be afraid to blitz Josh Allen again as much as they have because of how he's shredded it since then. But they were unafraid, and we got to give some credit to that unit and Steve Spagnuolo for what they did yesterday. Josh Allen kind of looked like his 2019 self to me. Unnecessary risk-taking, moved off his spot, had struggled reading the field at times. But I'm not upset at him. I want to take it out on someone else. Dan, you weren't on the show Friday, but Marcus was, and I conveyed as forcefully as I can a message to Sean McDermott, who has been fabulous all year, Coach of the Year candidate. I said, do not kick field goals against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just one little thing. That's all I'm asking. What did he do? Fourth and short, multiple field goals. I mean, people were bashing Matt LaFleur for 4th and 8, trying to win the game. Sean McDermott, what are you doing? I understand Josh Allen was struggling in this game, but Bruce Arians isn't going to make the same mistake. You cannot beat Patrick Mahomes kicking field goals. I don't know how many times we have to see teams fail this way.
Yep, you wanted arrogance, and you didn't really get it out of Sean McDermott. All right, guys, it's time. Big man ballin'. Let's go.
Y'all know what time it is. It's time to show the big fellas that's balling out on Sunday. Boom! Get off your feet, bruh. Dump him on his head, big fella.
Tiny violin.
No, sir, you cannot pass go. Big man, touchdown. Hands, nobody catch it. Shout out to the XX, XXL fellas. I remember when I used to do that. You made big man ballin', big dog. I kept it strictly to the big dudes. Like, I like saying little men have a big man spirit, big man heart, but this is about the big fellas. Line of scrimmage. My man Ryan Jensen, the center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He caught you, Kerry Clark. He caught you slipping. Look, I don't like doing this. This hurts me more than anybody being a former D-lineman. But when they get you bent up sideways, you go down. Look at Jensen dominate. Shout out to my man just Saturday. That's definitely going to be a pancake show. Look at this. This is a bad situation. Oh, Ryan Jensen, I like it, lad. Vita Vea's back, Mina. We talked about his impact. You don't think this impact? Hey, you too small, bro. I got to throw you on the ground. Now, I know Aaron Rodgers is special and he made a play on this. But Vita Vea and this pressure up the center of the pocket, sit down, young man. Let me go where I'm trying to go. Do not stand in my way. Let me get to where I need to be. The big fella's back and he looked mighty healthy. And Shaq Barrett. I'm doing something different today on Big Man Ballin'. I'm actually show y'all the game within the game. My man Shaq Barrett with the jump. We all remember this sack. But I want y'all to pay attention to some intricate detail in D-line play. You see his head turn right here at 4. Watch this at 4. He's going to look at the clock, and he's going to tell himself, Aaron Rodgers got to snap this ball. I'm gone. And it results in a sack. That's a big play. Not just coming off the edge, not just looking all good, being a great pass rusher. By the way, he's going to get a lot of money this offseason while we're having this conversation. Yeah. But the fact that he sees the game, he looks at the clock, determines that there is no more room for a hard count, no room for anything other than me getting off this rock. And that's what he did. That's the 3 big man ballers. They all come from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know why? Because they dominated in the line of scrimmage.
No doubt.
Big men and big brains. Hey, bro, you're too small. All right. Hey, guys, you on NFL Live right now. Check this out. We got a friend of the show here. Stephen A. Smith is tweeting us, guys. He says you better be careful what you're saying about Aaron Rodgers. I can just hear him right now. He's saying that bad man. By the way, Stephen A., you have an open invite to come on NFL Live anytime you want. Stay tuned for that. We'll get Stephen A. on the show soon. We got more coming your way, guys. Hey, 43 years old, no problem. Tom Brady headed to his 10th Super Bowl and have his magic moment in the Super Bowl for the 10th time and taking it back home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he'll play in this one. He completely turned around a team just 1 year, and it wasn't a normal offseason either. A lot of credit goes to Brady and this Bucs team. So, Dan, let's look at Brady on Sunday, though. What stood out to you from the 43-year-old quarterback?
Laura, it looked like Tom Brady over the last 15 years in New England. What I mean by this is, if you just go rewatch that game, everybody, go rewatch that game at home, and all you're going to see is, like, here's Rob Gronkowski flexed out by himself. Brady's going to realize, oh, it's man-to-man coverage. That's the linebacker that blitzing. He points to the linebacker, offensive line. Go block him. One-on-one matchup. Mike Evans, cool. Next third down. Oh, we're motioning the tailback. Great, I know it's man-to-man coverage. I'll tell the offensive line who to go protect because I know it's going to be a blitz. Chris Godwin, you're the one-on-one matchup. Like, that's exactly what Tom Brady did in New England. And if I just watch that game and, like, close my eyes, so to speak, and switch the jerseys, it looked very much so like Tom Brady of New England. And I know people have been talking about it, like it trending to being Tom's offense. Yesterday was the first time that it actually felt that way to me. It looked like Tom Brady was running exactly what he wanted. Pre-snap indicators, know what coverage is or what the pressure was before the ball ever came his way. Very nostalgic to watch him operate that way. It was awesome to see. And Laura, last thing, I got 2 absolutely fire breakdowns tomorrow of this offense tomorrow. 2.
Oh, we can't wait. We're still praying for your internet.
2.
All right, Mina, go ahead.
2.
Oh, man. Dan's internet's trying to save him from himself with the dancing there. Brady started that game, but the Bucs defense finished it. People were surprised around this time last year when he chose Tampa. Kind of came out of nowhere, and then they thought, well, it makes sense. Tampa has a lot of weapons. Mike Evans, great. Chris Godwin is great. You know what else they had? A top 5 defense in the NFL. You know who knew that? Thomas Brady. And I guarantee you that factored into his decision. Yesterday against Green Bay, that Bucs defense pressured Rodgers on 40% of his dropbacks. That is the most he has been pressured this season. They sent timely, unexpected blitzes. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Okay, they made big plays in the secondary. Todd Bowles coached a phenomenal game. He's been excellent all season. And to me, that was the story of this game. Yes, Brady made some incredible plays in the first half, but the second half belonged to the Bucs defense. And if they if they want to stand a chance against Kansas City, they're going to have to play similarly.
Marcus, the question when Brady left New England was really more important about Bill Belichick and Brady. Like, who was actually more important in winning those 6 Super Bowls? So you thought that Sunday might end that discussion. Now that you can look at it in the rearview mirror, did it?
You going here?
Yeah. Before I comment on Brady Belichick, I'm gonna reiterate what Mina. The defense did win the game. It wasn't a part of it. They won the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There were still 3 interceptions thrown that only materialized 6 points from Green Bay's offense. So the defense won the game. Todd Bowles and that defense. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick has been the conversation. Who's responsible? Obviously, both of them are responsible. But I've always leaned toward players because players have to execute. And sometimes players in the moment of games have to overcome some coaching deficiencies or lack based on talent. Tom Brady went to Tampa and proved that it was him. It was majority him. Of creating all of this success that they've had in New England. No, he can't make personnel decisions. He can't bring guys in. All of that love and credit go to Bill Belichick. But the execution on the field, the ability to go to a franchise and take them to the Super Bowl, not an NFC Championship, a Super Bowl, Tom Brady. So I think we can end that conversation about who is responsible.
There you go. It's settled. Time for one more thing before we go. And for this, we bring Adam Schefter back in. A great tweet yesterday talking about Tyreek Hill. Go ahead, Adam.
Well, look, I was watching Tyreek on this play. He catches the ball, he takes off, and all I could think of is